Welcome to Mom Talk with
Kate
and Kristen, your new go-to spot where motherhood meets understanding, support, practical advice from therapists, moms, and friends.
So whether you're up late with a newborn or navigating the challenges of the teen years, this is a space where we can laugh together, cry together, and navigate this parenting journey together.
Every episode is a way to learn and get new tips and new information and hopefully laugh and cry as we navigate this journey all together.
So today we are talking about self-care. And so last week, if you were able to check out our video, we were focusing on mom rage, and part of what we talked about when we were exploring mom rage is what to do about it. And so, of course, anytime there's any type of problem with the mom, the idea that comes up is let's do self-care. So I think it could be a really frustrating experience hearing that and not really understanding what that means or how to do that or why that seems like an extra responsibility for us. So Kristen and I wanted to chat a little bit about that today, validate some of those feelings, and then talk about realistic ways to do it and realistic ways to think about what that means for you, and then maybe talk about a new name for self-care.
For sure. And I think that's looking at it a different way, I think, is the big takeaway is I think we all need self-care. We all know we need self-care. We need to be doing this thing. And I don't know about you, but as soon as I hear the word self-care, I'm like, great, another thing to add to my list. Like, how am I going to do this? And it has a weird tone, which is why we talked about renaming it. So hopefully you were on Instagram and you helped us come up with a new name. So if you haven't already, check us out on Instagram and help us put a new name for self-care that isn't so triggering.
Yeah, it feels more empowering maybe.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can, in our next video next week, we can start by just talking a little bit about what we learned about other people's perceptions of what that could be called, and we can all rename this together.
Yeah, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes when we hear about self-care, it's this chore, it's this other thing we have to do. And I don't know, in media, social media, I feel like it's this go away for a girls' weekend or to the spa or
really
making
big
sure.
things.
Yeah, these huge things that realistically we don't have time to do, especially regularly.
Yeah.
So one of the things to reframe, I think, and I talk a lot about the moms I work with in the clinic, is that it's not about doing extra. Sometimes it's about doing the things you're already doing, but in a way that could fill your cup a little bit. So an example, I don't know, we really like music. We have music playing a lot. A lot of the times it's ABCs and Old MacDonald. That I wouldn't say is music that
Fills your cup?
Fills my cup. So things like when my husband takes the kids up to start bedtime, I usually clean up dinner and I'll put on music I like so I can sing and dance and enjoy music even though I'm cleaning up the kitchen. If you do it with a little bit of intention, that you're doing it for yourself and enjoying it as opposed to just doing chores, sometimes that can be those tiny things that can really add up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you can get away and do things that you really, really enjoy, to do those also.
But Kristen and I had a conversation. We were just chatting about this before starting it and checking in with each other around the ways that we use self-care in our own lives. And it was interesting because we're quite different in terms of what would fill my bucket is different than for Kristen. And so we thought that was important to acknowledge too, that there isn't this kind of global thing that this is self-care. And even, for example, like Kristen said, going on a girls' weekend or going to the spa, although for some people that might be wonderful, it's restorative, we get a break, we're only focusing on ourselves. For other people that could actually be very anxiety provoking or have a lot of pressure attached to it. So that's there's nothing that's really universally caring. And so we thought that was important to acknowledge, just so that you don't feel this pressure that if you're not doing this, this, and this, that this person is doing, you are not participating in self-care. But also because I think we get messages from other people around how we are supposed to take care of ourselves. Or if we do something, so say for example, I were to go out to a party with friends, one of my friends might be like, oh, but you got time away, you got to take a break. And although from the outset it may look like that was a break, for me, being in a large social situation with lots of people actually did not feel like a break. It actually felt like a lot of work, a lot of pressure. And so I wasn't taking care of myself in that moment. I was actually just meeting the needs of other people once again, and living up to other people's expectations, right? Whereas somebody else may go to a party and feel very fulfilled by that and feel like that was a break. So it's also acknowledging that there's not a standard for this, that this is your individual experience and you have to find what works for you.
Absolutely. And I think to extend on that, there's a few things that are not self-care. And I think those are important to acknowledge. Even though, you know, like I said, those tiny things with intention can really add up. And I think these could go into that category. I'm not sure it's full like restoration for us. So for example, having a shower without an audience, grocery shopping without your kids, even my doing dishes with music and stuff. Like, yes, it's intentional for me because I'm adding music, but that's not fully gonna fill my bucket. I'm still doing chores, right? So the things that you have to do may not fill your bucket. But then also extending, there are times, and depending on the day and the time I have, I enjoy going grocery shopping.
Well, I was just gonna say, for some people that, like, if you're a foodie or and if you do recipe, like, I get to go on my own, I get to explore, and then that feels it. Whereas for somebody like me who does not, and I don't cook or anything, for me it's a chore. I have to go to get all the food and get it home, and it's just another thing to check off on a Saturday in addition to all the other things. So that does it. It feels like something I have to rush and get done.
Yeah. So I think the important thing is to understand yourself and understand what like genuinely you enjoy, and to pursue those things the best that you can. And I think the expectation of doing these things every day is unreasonable. So we want to do as much, I think, of the small things with intention on a very daily basis, and just be mindful that we are practicing like just overall wellness, right? Making sure that our personal basic needs, which also includes filling our own bucket, recharging, right? We would never let our cell phone run out of battery. So we can't let ourselves run out of battery. So being able to do some of those bigger things, and then being mindful of like phase and stage of our kids, right? Like your newborn stage, you're gonna do less. You're gonna survive. You really are.
Self-care might be watching a TV show with the baby sleeping on your chest, because that's the only quiet moment that you've had that day.
For sure. And then, you know, you have your toddlers and the daytime is busy, and that's when, I don't know, that's when I got my bathroom audience, is when they got a little bit more independent, where they could like open the doors and stuff. So things like that change, but then over time things will level out. So we just have to make sure we also understand kind of the phase of parenting that we're in. And I think this is like a basic thing that, I don't know, I'm pretty bad at it too, is not feeling bad about it when you do it.
Yeah, and asking for support in doing it. I think that's the hardest part, right? Like whether that's from your partner or from like a parent, where you're saying, I really need to do this thing. Can you support me in this? So can you take the kids, or can you do the dishes today so I can go for a walk? But not attaching guilt to that, right? Not saying like, oh, I'm now putting that on, because, and that should be reciprocal. So for example, with your partner, if you're in a co-parenting situation, then also, you know, offering that so that they have that element of support in their own self-care, their self-wellness as well. So no, there's no guilt attached to this. This is just a way that we have to take care of ourselves to better show up and better take care of our kids.
And I think, I feel like as we have conversations, it kind of brings up these ideas like what we should talk about next time. And I think social pressure, because like, and I'm totally guilty of this, is I will, like I have a lot of support and I constantly feel guilty for using it. So like today, for example, I have, my kids are with their grandmother, and the second I am done, I'm like, okay, I'm done, like bring them back so you can get on with your day. And you know, could I go and like enjoy grocery shopping at a new store or something? Like absolutely I can. I am encouraged to, and the whole time I'm like, I need to hurry and get back. I need to hurry and get back.
Like it's only reasonable to ask for help if I'm like working. Like I can't be just doing something for myself. Like that would be unfair maybe.
And then that guilt. So even if I do go shopping, for example, by myself, and all I'm thinking is like I should hurry and I should get back and I should, you know, let
So it's not
my support
restorative.
people get on their day. Right. So then is it even self-care anymore because you're full of guilt and worry about the timeline and this time you're taking? So even the efforts we are making, it's like society doesn't let you because
It doesn't let you like feel
should
comfortable with it. Yeah. Okay, so should that be next week? We'll kind of talk about that social pressure and the feelings that are attached to that, and maybe some of the ways to talk to ourselves differently and change how we feel about some of those situations.
Absolutely. I think social pressure on like the primary parent, moms often, is pretty significant, and it's like impossible to get away from. So hopefully you'll tune in next week when we explore that a little bit more. And
let us know another name for self-care. We posted a reel on Instagram where we kind of asked for your opinions. We'd love to know if we can come up with a way to make it feel less pressurey, I guess, or less like responsibility on us to figure it out kind of thing.
It's another chore.
Yeah.
Another expectation that you have. Is there a way that we can just call it something else that like feels good for us, that makes you want to do it a little bit more?
Yeah, and not feel guilty for doing it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Have a great day.